Director Alex Kurtzman said that the 2017 Mummy reboot was the biggest failure of his life. So I did what I normally do when I hear things like this, and I bought the movie on Blu-ray. I figure if you're gonna watch a train wreck, you might as well watch it in 4K. This movie did poorly enough that it ruined Universal's plan to start a cinematic universe called the Dark Universe. So what makes this movie so bad? Well, let's find out by picking apart this movie beat by beat. Fade in. An old Crusader tomb is found in the London Underground, and Russell Crowe starts narrating some backstory.
Princess Amenet, sole heir to the throne of Egypt.
And I'm immediately annoyed that they have to spoon feed us the whole premise of the movie in a 4-minute intro. There are so many ways to reveal backstory, and they choose the least creative option possible. The gist is that in ancient Egypt, Princess Amenet was first in line to become pharaoh. Then she was denied that title when her father had a son. So she made a deal with Set, the god of death, to get the throne. He gave her powers and she killed her whole family. Then she was supposed to use this ceremonial dagger to allow Set to enter a man's body, but she got stopped and buried alive. They actually say she was mummified alive, which is a silly thing to say because the whole point of mummification is preserving a dead body. So mummifying somebody alive is basically an oxymoron. They also refer to Set as the god of death, which is a huge oversimplification of ancient Egyptian religion that basically makes him out to be the devil. But sure, make it easier to explain so that you can get more screen time for Tom Cruise. Speaking of, Sergeant Nick Morton, aka Tom Cruise, is hanging out in the desert with his sidekick, Corporal Chris Vale.
Sarge, you're not going down there.
You're right. I'm not. We are.
They're supposed to be in the military, but they carry on like a couple of children on a scavenger hunt. Nick is a treasure hunter and he's following a map hoping to find artifacts that he can sell on the black market. He's the main protagonist, and at this point I already think he's a scumbag.
Oh, no!
When Vale refuses to go into a town occupied by heavily armed men, Nick cuts his water skin, draining all of the water into the sand, further establishing him as a scumbag.
Dearest water is right down in that village. Come on, Vale. Where's your sense of adventure?
Cheesy line this soon into the movie? Well, that's really something. Cut to the firefight when the movie tries to show off its budget with some explosions. I'm sorry, I thought this was a Mummy movie, but right now it's seeming a lot like another Mission Impossible. Vale calls an airstrike, which causes the baddies to run off. Nick and Vale aren't hurt at all in the explosion, by the way. I sure do love the way Tom Cruise looks in all that plot armor.
I'm thinking we're probably gonna die here.
Their commanding officer shows up and gives them a talking to. And he's actually fully aware that Nick loots and sells artifacts on the black market.
You hunt for antiquities, stealing whatever isn't nailed down and selling it on the black market.
It's sort of unbelievable that this guy hasn't been court-martialed yet.
Sergeant Morton?
Then a new character, Jenny, walks up and slaps Nick in the face because he stole her treasure map after charming his way into her hotel room in Baghdad. Are we supposed to like this guy at all? Because all they seem to be giving us are reasons to dislike this character.
Human intimacy, if only for 15 seconds.
Wow, a lame sex joke. Thanks. Really needed that. The airstrike seems to have opened a very convenient hole through which they find the ancient ruins that they've been looking for. Wow, what are the odds? There is a massive pool of mercury, and it's even dripping from the ceiling in this scene. The next shot should be them leaving the tomb because they don't want to inhale a bunch of mercury vapor, but instead Nick and Vale start stealing shit.
This bar just leaves.
If the whole point of this well was to keep the mummy trapped in a pool of mercury forever, why would they design it so that breaking a single chain would release the mummy? That seems like a major design flaw. Vale starts shooting wildly at camel spiders, further demonstrating that he doesn't actually have any military training. Nick hooked up with Jenny earlier, and now he's making out with the princess in a vision, so in this universe, apparently every woman is just attracted to Tom Cruise. Is flying this sarcophagus to England really so important that you're willing to fly a plane in a dust storm?
Why'd you say 15 seconds? I mean, let me tell you, it was not 15 seconds.
Oh wow, so they're gonna keep doing the same sex joke again because it was such a hit earlier. Vale gets cursed because he got bitten by a spider earlier that basically turns him into a zombie. The sad part is that he's been visibly ill for several hours and nobody's offered to help him.
Me talking to you, I said what?
Also, check out this incredibly strange way that Nick shoots his gun. There's no way he's hitting anything aiming like that, let alone 3 shots in a row.
What the hell is that?
After a flock of crows flies into the plane like a bunch of feathery missiles, the plane goes down. But Nick gives Jenny a parachute and throws her out of the plane. I guess this is supposed to be the selfless act that convinces us that Nick is actually a good guy, but the whole thing feels pretty artificial to me. Nick goes down with the plane, and how crazy would it have been if they just killed him here? Nick then wakes up in the morgue naked because when you hire Tom Cruise, you're signing up for at least one shirtless scene with him flexing a ton.
Hey, you better come in this.
Back at the crash site, the mummy wakes up and they show us that one of her powers is sucking the life out of people's faces, which I'm sure is a fetish somewhere on the internet. And the people that she sucks turn into zombies who look like they're doing some breakdancing in this scene. Meanwhile, Nick is getting pissed drunk while Jenny explains more about the plot.
And legend has it that the dagger and the stone together had the power to give Set physical form.
Okay, so Set wants to be in a human body, so what? He could go to the grocery store and get stuck in traffic and stuff?
A ceremonial knife with a large jewel at the hilt.
Okay, thank you for explaining to me that now they're looking for a dagger and a stone to go in the hilt of the dagger. That's 2 MacGuffins, everyone, just in case you're keeping track.
What are you doing here?
Jenny looks good.
Nick goes to the bathroom where he discovers that he can still communicate with Vale in his mind because of the curse that he got from letting the mummy out of the tomb.
You even went after Jenny.
You shot me 3 times.
Vale is supposed to be the comic relief here, but this scene is not very funny. Then we find out that Nick went into the women's bathroom and oh haha, funny joke. Nick has a bad dream where he gets swarmed by rats, and honestly, rats aren't that scary. Especially not these weird CGI rats. Now, Nick believes that he's cursed, and he wants to go back to the crash site. And it's crazy that Jenny goes with him despite her boss telling her to bring Nick to London right away. She should know that this is a terrible idea.
Crash site is up that way, and that's where we're going.
Nick and Jenny split up, which is always a smart thing to do. This movie is just full of mediocre scares where they build a small amount of tension and then play a really loud sound. The minions pin down Nick so that the mummy, aka Princess Amunet, can jump on him and start having sexy time.
I'm sorry, what?
What am I watching? I just wanted a mummy movie, man, not a sensual body kissing scene with Tom Cruise. She wants to put Set inside of Tom Cruise's body. Okay, fair enough. I feel like you could do worse than being inside the body of a movie star. So, using her supernatural powers, she brought down the plane in this spot because she could sense that the dagger was there. And yet, none of her powers could tell her that the stone wasn't there with the dagger. Then Jenny shows up, and there's a fight scene. Nick fights the minions while Jenny fights the mummy. Every other person who encountered the mummy got taken out right away, but because Jenny's a main character, Amunet deliberately decides to not kill her immediately, and instead just tosses her around for a little while.
You're saying that she brought the plane down there on purpose?
This movie really assumes that the audience is just stupid, and that's why the film needs to verbally explain a lot of the plot development multiple times. They're pursued by a horde of mummy henchmen, and I guess there's just an unlimited supply of these guys now. This movie's trying to be an action movie within a monster movie, but it's not really working, especially with these cheesy action scene jokes that don't really add anything. Nick crashes the ambulance and tries to 1v1 the mummy with a stick. I know that Nick is like invincible now because of the curse, but would an uppercut still not just completely shatter his jaw? After this dude should be eating from a straw for the next year. At the last second, an entire squad of Special Forces troops shows up to save the day. Sure, why not?
Who are you?
Then Nick gets taken to their secret base as a prisoner, and they escort him through this room that has a bunch of monster parts in glass jars. Wouldn't this kind of stuff be considered highly classified and not the thing that you just want to show some random prisoner? And they probably think they're being cool and clever with this nod to the creature from the Black Lagoon and this vampire skull, but this is actually a pretty terrible way to start a shared universe. Rather than giving these monsters a good origin story and bringing them together into this shared universe, they're like, oh hey look, somebody already killed the creature and put its hand in a jar. Isn't that cool?
My name is Jekyll, Dr. Henry Jekyll.
Oh, big reveal. Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll, and here we go with the monologuing.
The disease manifested itself in subtle ways at first, and then it grew.
So they introduced Dr. Jekyll as a character, but again, rather than working hard to build the origin story, they plop him here in this movie as a guy who's already discovered the cure that stops him from turning into Mr. Hyde.
Welcome to Prodigium, Mr. Morton. In truth, she works for us.
So Jenny works for Jekyll, and that's why she was searching for that tomb. A few things with that. If she was really on a secret mission, wouldn't she be smart enough to not hook up with this random guy and let him steal the map? Also, assuming she knows that evil curses like this do exist, wouldn't she have been more careful about taking the mummy out of the ground and transporting it?
Embalming her with mercury. The mercury in her veins will solidify, and she should be safe for dissection then.
Jekyll is so confident that the mercury is going to kill the mummy, even though they've clearly never done this before.
Your language is simple.
Also, the mummy just speaks English. What, is that just like some magic that she has after spending thousands of years in a box? Now Nick and Jenny get upset that they're going to kill the mummy because Jenny is a history nerd who wants to learn more about ancient Egypt, and Nick is a horny guy who wants to hook up with the mummy.
I care about you. Somewhere in there is a good man.
This is apparently the part where they convince us that Nick is actually a good guy, which feels like they're just jamming his altruism down my throat.
You gave me the only parachute without hesitation.
I thought there was another one.
What kind of a military plane only has one parachute? Now that he has the stone, Jekyll's plan is to kill the mummy and then stab Nick with the daggers so that he can get Set to enter Nick's body, and then they plan to kill Set. And that's just a ridiculous plan, because how could you possibly be this confident that you could kill Set? Isn't this kind of a massive risk to take?
You want to put the stone in the dagger and stab him with it?
Precisely.
And if the plan was to kill Nick all along, why not just have Nick drugged so that you don't run the risk of him escaping? Nick withholds Jekyll's medicine for a moment, causing him to turn into Hyde.
Mr. Morton. What?
This guy somehow doesn't notice that there's a spider crawling into his ear. If Amunet really had the power to control spiders and turn people into minions this whole time, did she really have to wait this long to use it? Nobody thought to stop this guy before he smashes the electric panel with an axe? Nick fights Hyde and wins by stabbing him with the serum. Honestly, Hyde is kind of a moron for not suspecting that this was Nick's plan. Nick and Jenny escape, and so does the mummy after this huge power outage. Really? Smashing one electric panel causes this much chaos? Doesn't this building have like fire suppression or a backup generator or something? Then Amunet causes a sandstorm in London. It turns out the mummy can raise any dead people she wants, so she raises this whole tomb of dead guys. And it's annoying that she doesn't seem to have any reasonable limits on her powers, it's just whatever works at the moment. Also, she's just bulletproof. So everybody ends up in the underground catacombs where Amunet puts the stone back in the dagger, and somehow she has like a Find My Friends curse on Nick that allows her to track him, and she finds Nick and Jenny in this flooded section of the catacombs. Amunet swims really fast and like a dolphin, which is weird. But isn't her whole thing deserts? I would think that the mummy would not do so well in water, but she must have been practicing her backstroke in the Nile all those years. There's no way that this dirty underground tunnel water would be this clear. Jenny drowns and Nick is devastated.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
But honestly, it feels like they barely knew each other. Shit, as a viewer, we barely knew her. Amunet turns all of her soldiers to dust, which is strategically dumb because she's probably going to wish she had an extra hand in a second here. Nick gets tossed around, and at this point he's taking so much of a beating that his body should be basically destroyed, and he should just be laying there moaning. A mummy face lick. She must be a big Tom Cruise fan.
We're just never gonna happen. And it's not me, it's you.
A nice cheesy line here. Unfortunately, the humor in this movie just doesn't really hit. Nick steals the dagger and slams the stone into the ground where it cracks a little. I feel like he has no idea what he's doing here, and he's just trying shit and seeing what sticks.
Power of life over death.
Okay, so this guy has the hots for Jenny so bad that he stabs himself with a dagger anyways because he thinks that he'll gain the power to bring her back to life, a power which some consider to be unnatural. This seems like a very half-baked plan, and honestly, this movie's really falling apart. I don't really care about any of these characters, and I'm not really invested in what happens now. Nick could die, and I wouldn't really care. This scene is way less intense when you realize that these people are 5'5" and 5'7" respectively. Rather than his body being controlled by Set, Nick is basically just himself. But now he has superpowers, and this just feels like a huge story cop-out. Oh, because the stone was cracked and he stabbed himself, and he's also just such a good guy, he gets the powers now rather than becoming an evil deity. Well, Nick finally makes out with the mummy, but I guess Nick can suck the life out of her now because he's basically a god. And just like that, the villain is vanquished.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Even though there's no way Nick knows what he's doing with his powers, he's able to bring Jenny back to life by shouting at her.
I don't know what I am.
You don't know what you are? Well, I don't know what this scene is, man. You're sitting in a corner being all angsty, and I feel the credits are fast approaching.
He is a monster now.
He is also still a man.
So Nick is half man, half monster now, which feels like it's supposed to get us excited for a sequel, but it's actually just fine. I don't really care if I see him ever again.
I mean, thank you for bringing me back to life and everything, Nick.
Thank you, Vale, for the one-liner that explains how you got here.
Come on, my friend. Where's your sense of adventure?
Oh, he said the thing from the beginning of the movie, and somehow it's even worse the second time.
We'll search the world over for a way to break the curse. Sometimes it does take a monster to fight a monster.
And just like that, a mediocre movie was made. Look, I don't hate the idea of a cinematic universe for monsters, but they were trying to force it into existence so much that it just hurt to watch. Also, Tom Cruise was a bad pick here. It just becomes an action movie where he plays the good guy, and the mummy ends up taking the backseat as just a generic villain. Anyways, I hope you had fun listening to me rant about the mummy. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you enter a cave and discover mercury dripping from the ceiling, go home and consult your primary care physician because you might have mercury poisoning.